demo warning that this is pre-alpha everything. So should there be an explosion or something, we expect to survive it, but there are exits there and there. I feel like we should say something snazzy right now. There it goes. Do you want to talk about it, Tim? No? Okay. Do you want just thumb up or thumb down? Oh, I've got the mic. All right. I'll give you a little background while it's loading, and then I'll let Tim chime in, because I always forget stuff. So it's going to take a little while to warm up, because what we're doing is we're starting a scenario for a hypothetical game. This isn't a specific game. People could ask me, when is this thing going to come out? And I'm like, well, it's actually just an engine test that we were doing, so it's not any specific game. One thing I'd like to point out is this Star Carrier actually has, how many turrets is it? It's like 50 moving turrets that are all tracking independently. And it has nothing to shoot at just yet, but every single part of that, every single turret you're seeing, including the barrels, are all tracking independently. That is a very complicated question. Because, actually I can talk a little bit about this now. The question was how many vertices, or what's the triangle count on those? And it's a very complicated question, because our render is not a, we don't render or shade triangles. We actually shade individual sample points. And we rasterize after we do that. This is much more similar to how, say, RenderMan does it. And so we shade, and one of the really cool things we can do is once we shade the object, we can actually re-render it many times to do things like motion blur. So one of the things that we were able to do is, I think our virtual frame rate is like 300. I don't know, Tim set it up, but it's like 350 or 400 frames a second. I've got a couple of timers up there, and I want to just kind of show you that's the current batch count. Now, one thing to keep in mind in a modern engine is that one batch does not equal one model. Most things that get rendered have multiple passes and whole sorts of things that are happening. The time on the left is the total time between, it's actually between the fences of the GPU. So it's between when we ask the GPU, hey, are you done yet? And then submit the other things. So that's the total frame time, what you're traditionally. The submit time is actually the time that we're spending inside Mantle. And these are in milliseconds. And the final time on the right is the frame-to-frame time, which is the time we're isolating when we're not waiting for the GPU. So if we had an infinitely fast GPU, the time on the right would be our milliseconds. So right now, I don't know what the math is on 5, what is that, 200 frames a second or something? I'm not sure. So theoretically right now, we're hitting, it'll get warmed up a little bit here. If we weren't GPU bound, we would be doing something like 300 things. Now, we haven't optimized our GPU at all. We put this all together on the CPU, and Artist just checked stuff in, so we haven't even really looked at GPU performance yet. So the most fair number to look at is probably the one on the right. One thing I'd point out too is, there you can see that ship. Zoom into the carrier that's going off. There you go. That ship's going off. We're actually spawning thousands of lights in the scene too. Every single weapon impact and every single thing is actually a physical light in the scene. So we can end up in situations, which makes me grumpy sometimes when the gameplay guys put in, 10,000 lights in the scene, but we can't handle it. And so there you're seeing lots of lights being spawned. I don't have anything else to say. I think, Tim, you should say something. Can we switch over to Tim before he protests?
Oh, sure, I can keep going. All right, so we want to talk a little bit more. I think it's important to point out in this demo that this isn't on, but that's okay. Can you guys hear me? No, we don't. You need to go up on stage. Yeah, we're part of the speakers. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll drive then. My voice is getting dry, so I'm like running out of stuff.
I can. I can give Dan a break here for a second. So anyway, so there's a couple other important things that we wanted to make sure about this demo, because we didn't want this to just sort of be a sort of abstract graphics test, et cetera, et cetera. As Dan points out, this is an internal test that we use to test the entire engine out. So currently what we're winding up doing is each one of these spaceships on the screen is their own independent entity. They've got their own firing solution. They've got their own AI system. They're doing coordinated flocking not only within their own squadrons, but within their squadron groups itself. Each one of the shots, it's kind of funny what happens once you start giving gameplay and AI guys lots of perf to do stuff. They start doing really crazy things that you wouldn't expect. Like each one of those little bullets, the gameplay guys decided that those should all be unique and independent. And I really couldn't complain too much, because when I started profiling it, it all kind of fit through and worked. So I really didn't have too much of a leg to stand on. The other interesting thing that I think is really fun about this is that the entire thing is really dynamic and natural, which is a really important sort of test for us. So I think we're up to just around 2,000 units. Every run is a little bit different just in terms of testing, because one of the sides will always get the upper hand at some point, and we wind up winning or losing based on that. Each one of the missiles, they're independent missiles. The carrier down here that we've got up is a fantastic model that just got in. That has over 200 independent missile turrets that everyone's been lovingly trying to get to fire off. The other carrier, the one that looks more like a long green tube, has 30 different turrets, all of which have gameplay constraints, and they're putting up their own targeting solutions for all of that. Let's see, the effect system all sort of runs independently, so there's not one sort of meta object for each of those, so the trails are all independent, which means that even though we're probably only doing about 3,000 units right now, the number of supporting objects in terms of effects and things that are going off in the gameplay world is about an order of magnitude more than that. So, in reality, we've got around, let's see, if we're up to 2,000, probably around 25,000 discrete objects that we're currently working on simulating and putting together and doing everything else. You can see sort of the missiles flying up there and missiles flying below there. And I think the other thing that's kind of interesting is that, let's see, so there's LOD. All the objects have LOD. That was a really important thing. And actually, one of the things that Mantle made this much easier at is that once we start talking about techniques for reducing batch count, one of the things that you lose is sort of discrete primitives. So being able to sort of just say, sure, we'll use as many LODs as we need to, we've actually been able to start taking the artwork and optimizing it more and more. So we still have a lot of GPU optimization to go. I think we're talking about, we expect to get, well, our goal is to hit 100,000 batches. I think we can do it. Let's see, and if you look at our frame time now, even at, do I sum those two, Dan? 6 milliseconds and 2 milliseconds? Okay. So yeah, so we're at 6 milliseconds for just those 2,000 units and 20 to 30,000 batches, which has been a fantastic result for us. Well, I'll tell you what, do we want to actually break format a little bit? I'm willing to, if anyone has any questions quickly, we could actually answer them while this is going off, and then we can finish up the rest of the slides.
What's the CPU utilization right now?
Let's see, what is the okay, actually, you know what? That's great. I have a slide farther on down the line in Mantle for that. So I'll show you an example. There will be 2 slides further on. One is an example, 4-core with 50,000 batches. Another is an example with a 6-core, 12-thread machine at 80,000 batches.
How do you debug 60,000 batches?
Yeah, how do you debug 60,000 batches? There's, it's really interesting. So we've been talking a lot about, we're a lot more scalable than we were expecting. When we designed the engine and we put it together, there was a lot of theory, but we really had to work it out and put it together. And because of the way that we wound up being so asynchronous, when I talked about that sort of swarm model, what really happens is that because we can do a lot of very small tasks, things go all over the place. And one of the things that we're actually doing is looking at a way of actually recording the call stacks and tying everything back together as an easier way to do it. Interestingly enough, to get that sort of really multi-threaded utilization out of what you do, you wind up doing a lot more message passing. And when you do that, you actually have a lot of context data right at the point where it breaks. So
Switch back to the slides and then let's let this run and just see what happens.
I just like letting it run, especially once we get closer to 10,000 units. It's really quite fun for us. Let's see, any other? What hardware is it running on? This is an FX 8350 and a Hawaii board right now.
For this interaction, does it make it difficult to have multiplayer game, or just this will be restricted as a single player?
I'm trying to, let me see if I can understand the question again. What was it?
So if you have all this, anti-interaction going on,
Yes.
it's more difficult to have a multiplayer game.
Well, I suppose that depends on how you implement a multiplayer game, right? So you're right. If we were going to try and synchronize every bullet, every ship on screen, then certainly there would be huge problems there. So yes, if you wanted to do a very naive implementation of multiplayer on this, it would be very difficult to synchronize. I can't talk about that. Sorry. But I think we all know that naive is not going to work in this case. But I think we can all imagine that there are alternative methods that allow you to aggregate some of that information. What's our time like?
All right, well, let's go back to that.
Okay. Oh, sure.